So I don't get this, Chris. I want you to help me understand.
I don't know.
Because I don't doubt anything Jay Glazer ever reports. And it can't be. I mean, there's a point where you're just trying to build trade leverage.
Right.
And then there's a point where you're putting your own credibility at stake in an effort to build trade leverage. I can't imagine that they are so desperate to get trade value for Zach Wilson that Robert Saleh would be so adamant about Zach Wilson.
Right. Yes. Listen, this situation, I did not agree, you know that, with how they handled it. I don't. I got a lot of respect for that Jets organization. I've loved just about everything Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas have done. This was not my favorite move. Yeah, they were 5-2. I know it wasn't good. 5-2, played like crap. Nobody blocked anybody. They couldn't run, and they lost the game on a punt return, and they made it all about one guy, and that became the biggest story with the team, and it distracted them, and I think it's a big reason why you could look at and why they went into a losing streak to a degree. It just became too much there. So I did not love that. And again, I know it wasn't perfect. I get that, but you take your lumps for the bigger picture of the organization, and I feel like it came to the end of the road where, gosh, I don't know if I was Zach Wilson if I would want to be here in the New York area anymore with how the fan base has turned on him and treated him, and let alone he has a right to be disgruntled with the team to a degree as well. But at the same time, it's just like, I hope the team's not giving up on him. I mean, 2 years in the NFL, we know. I mean, we've been spoiled by some guys who can come in the league and tear it up. But if we gave up after on quarterbacks after a year and a half or 2 years of play, damn, we would have never. Troy Aikman, Terry Bradshaw, Phil Simms. Man, John Elway struggled his first year and a half. I mean, you can continue on and on for guys that weren't that great. Right? Or we've seen quarterbacks that ended up great who played an ugly style of football early on in their career until they got going. Ben Roethlisberger, come on. All they did was run the ball and manage him his first year. They were 14-1 and lost in the AFC Championship game. The second year they go to the Super Bowl, they opened it up just a little bit more, but still played the same way. We saw Russell Wilson go to the Super Bowl, his second year and have that same kind of thing. I just feel like people were too harsh. I hope the Jets want to stay with him. I do. But the more the question is, does Zach Wilson want to stay with them, I think is more the real question of the matter here, Mike.
And look, I hope that this isn't motivated by fear that he'll go somewhere else, play well, and make them look bad. And some of that is percolating through Robert Saleh's comments because he's defended Zach Wilson by saying, others have left the Jets and done well. Well, maybe it's a Jets thing then. And maybe they're not going to ever do well with the Jets. Maybe they need to escape in order to have a chance to do well somewhere else. I hope they don't squat on Zach Wilson for fear that he thrives somewhere else and makes them look
definitely
bad.
Definitely a conversation up here, Mike. To your point, though, it's definitely a conversation.
Now, because here's the concern that I would have. And this may be Robert Saleh just being a good soldier, that he's just doing what they're telling him to do from the very top of the organization. It could be that Woody Johnson is the one saying, we're not going to let this guy go somewhere else and be the next Geno Smith. We already look bad for Geno Smith becoming one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL after we had him and we gave up on him. We're not going to let if this guy's ever going to turn it around, it's going to be with us, or he's never going to turn it around. Here's where this becomes a problem. And I think we talked about this when this was all percolating and happening and boiling, not just percolating. It was boiling. If you mishandle the separation from Zach Wilson, if you squat on him and keep him under your thumb when maybe he doesn't want to be there, and you're right, we haven't heard from him. Maybe he doesn't want to be there, and if they keep him around when he doesn't want to be there, it makes it even worse. These young quarterbacks coming out who will be highly coveted in the draft, 23, 24, 25, on and on. They got money in the bank now, and they're going to have more and more money in the bank from the NIL deals. And it's going to start sooner than people realize, where guys are going to pull the John Elway, Eli Manning, I'm not playing for your team. And you know what? All the factors that you've discussed about being a Jets quarterback, the way the fan base is, the way the media is, the way the organization is, if I'm a top pick and the Jets have a top pick and they're thinking about taking me, you think I want to play there, especially if they don't do right by Zach Wilson? when we just kind of are at a point now where maybe it just is best for everyone to separate, but they refuse to do it because they don't want him to thrive with someone else. If that's the end result of this, Chris, it's going to hurt that franchise in the future when it's time to draft their next supposed savior at quarterback.
It's an interesting angle, Mike. It is. It's one that, I didn't really think about. There's a little bit going to be more power in the quarterback's hands coming out of the draft because you're right. They got money in their pocket, and they can play the waiting game maybe a little bit more than years past, right? That is interesting, certainly. And to your point too, Mike, I think with the Jets, I hope if he said, I hope they believe in him after what he said yesterday, right? That's what I want to say. I hope they're not doing this for the wrong reasons, right? I hope that there is the real belief that, wait, we still see talent in this guy and we think there can be something there to be had. Because, yeah, to sell it like that and then just to squat on it for all the wrong reasons that you kind of explained is wrong. It's going to, put a bad light on them. And it's going to lead to a weird offseason if that's the case there. So we'll see where this goes. But I do think this is one of the more intriguing offseason storylines, something to watch out for as soon as the league year ends or even here through the playoffs as far as rumors or things you hear, because I could see this thing going either way as it stands right now.
If I'm Zach Wilson, I want to move on.
I
At
hear you.
some point, somebody's got to get the word out on his behalf. It's time for a fresh start. It just is. And regardless of what Robert Saleh is saying, and I do think there's a chance he's just saying what he's told to say, at some point we need to hear from Zach Wilson. Do you still want – just like the Devontae Adams question.
Yeah, right.
Zach, do you still want to play for this team?
Mm-hmm.
And his answer will go a long way toward telling us whether he really wants to, because either he's going to say no – and we'll have our answer, or he's going to say yes, and it may or may not be convincing. So hopefully at some point he'll be asked that question. Let's take a break. We'll have more PFT Live right after this. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.